Looks like we on. How's everybody this morning? Somebody asked me why I wasn't on yesterday. Didn't feel like I had anything to say. Somebody might, somebody might look at me and say, well, "I don't think you got much to say anytime," and that might be true. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. It's hard for a man to judge what he says, as he says it, when he says it, the way he says it, whatever. Get tired of people trying to judge others on that. Well, you gotta be on every day. No, don't. I want to be on every day, but that doesn't mean I have to be. Um, just morning. Sorry I missed your call the other day, Brother Bird. I went to sleep real early that night and did not wake up till real early in the morning, and didn't think anybody'd want me to respond to them that time. Uh, anyway, that's the way I feel about this. What I want may not necessarily be the best thing. I might be looking at something after the flesh. Lord says, no, you don't need to do that. Now, who's right, him or me? I don't think there's any thought. I don't think anyone would even think of contradicting when I will say that the Lord's right, not me, not me. No, sir. Yeah, I knew when I saw some other messages, Brother Allen, I figured that's what it was, and I appreciate that. I believe Monday's when I dealt with that. And when they had preached, this is Acts 14:21, and when they had preached the gospel to that city, Derbe, when they had preached the gospel to that city, and had taught many, notice there's a difference in the proclamation and the teaching. Afternoon. The proclamation went out. Have you heard it said by those of a Arminian type persuasion who desire most of the time to make a fair show in the flesh, who think that they have vast spiritual knowledge more than most people, say, why, you old Baptist, you old primitive Baptist, you old school Baptist, you strict and particular Baptist, y'all don't believe in preaching to sinners. I don't know who else we can preach to. That's the silliest thing I ever heard in my life. It's like trying to defend God from the phrase, "Oh, you're going to make God the author of sin." I view him the same way. Y'all don't believe in preaching to sinners. I'll tell you what we don't believe. We don't believe in what you call preaching to sinners. Because what you call preaching to sinners is offering dead men something that you think they can do. And I'm going to tell you something. those that are dead in trespasses and sins, cannot believe the voice of the preacher. They cannot hear the voice of the preacher. They cannot understand the voice of the preacher, even though they might understand every one of the words that comes out of his mouth. They may understand the grammar of his sentences or the lack thereof. But until that great shepherd of the sheep, until the one in whom all the fullness of the Godhead dwelt bodily comes and speaks life to that person, opens their eyes to the beauty that's in him, opens their ears to his voice, they can't hear a thing. So, no, in that sense, we don't preach to sinners. But let me tell you something. Any proclamation that any servant of God makes, whether it's in home, whether it's in private conversation, so to speak, whether it's in a public park, on the street, wherever it is, that proclamation is made to sinners. And I can guarantee that because there's not a person that hears the voice with their natural ears that isn't a sinner. But let us say this, there is nothing there for that natural man but condemnation. Paul said, I believe it's in one of the Corinthian epistles, first one I believe, said that we're a savor of life unto life, but death unto death. That the words we speak are uh, glorious life to those that already have life, but they're nothing but death to those that don't have life, who are already dead. You don't know that text I'm talking about. I just can't quote it right now. The workmongers of the world want it to be a savor of life unto death. I wonder then if that could be true, if the opposite wouldn't be true, it could be a savor of death unto life. Let me ask y'all a question. Do you believe that you've been taught by the Spirit of God? Do you believe you've heard the voice, the life-giving voice of the Son of God? Do you believe you've heard him speak unto you just as plainly and precisely as he spoke to Lazarus at his tomb? Lazarus, come forth. Now, if this was our modern so-called evangelical preachers standing there, they'd be there saying, oh, anybody in that tomb that wants to, anybody that will, come forth. They would say, oh, if you just take the first step, Jesus will meet you halfway and carry you the rest, but you've got to believe, you've got to understand that you're in there because you're dead, because you're a sinner, and the body's dead because of sin. And therefore, now you got to come out of there, and you've got to take that first step. How many of them would? I submit to you, not even Lazarus would come forth from that. Of course, these modern preachers, they don't want one. Man, you gotta have a bunch, don't you? You can't have just one. No, you got to have a multitude come forth. Enough that you have folks to meet them and greet them. Take them and sit them down on the mourner's bench. Put them in an anxious seat. Browbeat them till they say the sinner's prayer. Don't y'all scour that New Testament right good to find me that sinner's prayer in it. I want you to find where off, so we'll just kind of pick up where we were. There's Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. Old eunuch says to him, look, here's water. What does hinder me to be baptized? Well, sit down here. I got to explain some things to you. Do you know you're a sinner? And if you know that you're a sinner, do you know that you can't remedy that sin problem yourself? For had he only had, who was it, Bill Bright, Campus Crusade, that come up with them four spiritual laws, or at least popularized them? I can't remember now, but that sounds right. Walked you through there until he prayed the sinner's prayer. Bill just looked at him and said, if you believe with all your heart, you can be baptized. He said, I believe Jesus. This Jesus, the one you're talking about, is the Son of God. Oh, what a small confession compared to what men want their converts to do today. I believe this Jesus you've been telling me about is indeed the Son of God. And notice another thing, Philip didn't say if you believe with your head, if you understand, then I'll baptize you. Oh no, that's not it. It's not got anything to do with your head. If you believe with all your heart. Jesus doesn't dwell in your head. If he did, your carnal mind would cease to be envy against God. Well, man, we can't get off our subject here, aren't we? Mm-mm-mm. They preach, they proclaim to Derby the gospel, the good news. Uh, and what it says, and when they had preached the gospel to that city and taught many, they preached the gospel to the city and taught many. Didn't teach them all. In the so-called Great Commission, which was given, by the way, to the apostles, not to you, nor to me. Aren't you thankful? Go into all the world, proclaim, preach the gospel, make disciples of all nations. Excuse me. Teaching them Who? The disciples. What makes them a disciple? They follow Jesus. In Revelation, it talks about those that follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. They ask no questions. Kind of like that Shunammite in the Song of Songs, Song of Solomon, right? If you want to find your beloved, you need to go forth by the footsteps of the flock. Why? Because he's the one that's in front of them, leading them. He's the one who's guiding them. He's the one that's bringing them where they need to be. Isn't that beautiful? Find the true flock. You'll find your beloved. That's what he's saying. Find the true flock and you'll find your beloved. Why? Because they've been taught. I've said this before, probably not even long ago. I can teach you all sorts of things. I can teach you a lot of things. You can learn them, but I can't teach you anything spiritual. All I can teach you is the letter. The spirit must teach you spiritual things. Excuse me. I have felt the Spirit say to me, time past, listening to men that I believe were true men of God. I believe I've heard the Spirit say to me, now you listen. They're going to proclaim the truth and I'm going to confirm it to you. Did I hear that as an audible voice in my ear? No, I did not. Did I hear it in that inward man? I certainly did. The Spirit says this is what I've been teaching you. Now listen to the confirmation of it, because I taught him the same. And after the service, you sit there, maybe eat lunch or supper, depending on what it was. Someday a sister says, I believed that all my life, but I never knew it to be expressed that way. Never heard it expressed that way before, but I know I believed it. You come up and hug her neck, shake her hand, and say, I know just what you mean. I feel the same way. But truth is confirmed to you in that way. I don't know about y'all, but I think it's precious. Particularly, yeah, particularly when it's someone from afar who you've never known before. Given because they've been taught the same way. Given to preach it. Oh, excuse me. Well, I actually wanted to get further along in that chapter than what I got. Maybe we'll go back to it tomorrow if the Lord wills. They proclaimed to the town and taught many. Didn't teach well. Well, don't you believe they taught everyone to whom they proclaimed?
I do not.
No, sir, I do not. I do not believe that. No more than I believe both the thieves on the crosses are going, we're going to be in paradise with Jesus. Excuse me, I was up last night late researching some stuff. And when they had preached the gospel to that city and had taught many, they returned again to Lystra and to Iconium and Antioch. I think it's beautiful to consider these things. I think it's even more beautiful when the Lord brings these distinctions to our minds, to our hearts, through His Spirit, and blesses us to see. Blesses us to see. Excuse me. All these things. Well, I don't want to wear you out. I'm not that far from work, so I'm going to hush. Uh, I have no idea about a Zoom meeting tonight. Y'all know I'd like to, but I don't know whether or not the Lord would bless me to stay up or anything like that. Yeah, excuse me. I haven't made a bunch of last week's videos public. If you haven't, trying to catch up and you didn't notice, well, maybe you can now. I hate it that YouTube does that just automatically, almost arbitrarily, except the fact they do it to all of them. I can put public on there and they're going to make it private regardless. Makes me get in the flesh. I feel like old Jerry Reed. Remember that she got the gold mine, I got the shaft. I said, Judge, as me and you go outside, now I'm gonna try Lily Yore on her own. So it makes me want to do with these nuts at YouTube. Yes, drag them outside, try some of there on their own. 2 years ago saying, yeah, yes, we know there's a problem. We're working on fixing it. Liars. They're just liars. What in the world? Oh my goodness. Well, I think it's time that I get over here. I hope you have a blessed day, brother. I do. I'm gonna call you in a couple of days, talk to you for a minute. I don't know whether just so. I hope the Lord gives all of you a blessed day and a heart full of praise to His name for what great things He's done to you and for you and in you, with you. And if you still think you can do anything relative to your salvation in time or eternity, I hope the Lord picks you up and shakes that out of you and shows you that Jesus is your all in all. Period. Period. So now I'm going to say adios till tomorrow, if the Lord wills. We'll see you then.